Support for this podcast comes from Staples. Stocking your office shouldn't be difficult. Multiple vendors with separate invoices can create more work than you might realize. Staples aims to be your one source for everything your business needs. As an SGI member, you'll receive access to staplesadvantage.com, 3,000 aggressively priced items, up to 30% off list price on the products you use most, dedicated account management, and award-winning customer service. Free next business day delivery on orders over $50, plus a generous rebate. Use staplesadvantage.com and order today.
Welcome to The Successful Contractor, powered by Success Group International, a show for residential contractors about residential contractors. We chronicle business journeys, share insights, and celebrate successes in this wonderful industry. I'm your host, Bob Houchin. Hello there, SGI family and other contractor friends. I'm so thankful that you're here. As always, this is your reminder that all episodes of the Successful Contractor Show are available on YouTube as well as your favorite podcast player of choice. Before we dive into today's episode, I want to remind everyone that registration is open for your SGI Fall Expo. It will be held in beautiful Temecula, California. That's Southern California wine country. The dates are October 8th through the 10th. If you haven't heard, by registering early and attending Expo, you could win a big prize. It's SGI and Learning Alliance's Success On-Site giveaway, a visit to your office worth up to $20,000 by an LA trainer, Brandon Marshall, or an SGI coach. Register today by clicking on the registration banner on your SGI Hub website. Today's show is a great conversation I had with Victor Bachman of Mike Bachman Plumbing in Ogden, Utah. I'm talking to Vic today because Mike Bachman Plumbing is seeing a resurgence. Last year, the company did $1.5 million in sales, but currently it's on pace to hit $3 million very profitably in 2021. And I wanted to see what Vic and his team are doing to enjoy such great success. And we dug deep into the operational nuances of his company. And we'll cover a ton of topics, as you will see. But as you will also see, especially at the end of the interview, the revenue and profit numbers aren't the only thing that drive Vic. In fact, they're probably not the most important thing. Vic comes from a family of plumbers. He's a fifth generation. Mike Bachman Plumbing is a family business. His three boys work with him. His sister owns the business with him. His best friend is also in the business and a business partner with him. And Vic wants his entire company to share in that family feel and share in his vision. He knows when people take ownership in their workplace, and not only are they more productive, they're happier. So it's no surprise that so many of Mike Bachman Plumbing's employees have been with the company 10 and 20 years. Vic is proof that you can have a great culture and a successful business. So without further ado, here's my conversation with Vic Bachman of Mike Bachman Plumbing in Ogden, Utah. I hope you enjoy it and take away a nugget or two. Vic, thank you so very much for being on the show today. Very excited to have you on. For those who haven't had the pleasure of meeting you, can you please share with everyone your name, your company name, and where you're located?
Okay, it's good to see you, but my name's Vic Bachman. I'm with Mike Bachman Plumbing, and we're in Ogden, Utah.
Very good, very good. And just so everyone kind of understands the size and scope of the business, let's talk about the breakdown. Let's start in the office. What's the office team look like these days?
So we have three people who work in the office. My sister is the main CCR, I guess, and then we have two other girls that answer the phones for us and do the dispatching and that kind of stuff.
Great. And how about in the field? What do we have in the field? How many trucks are rolling? How many?
So we have 13 plumbers out there working right now.
Yeah.
13 trucks basically. So I just got 2 new trucks last week. So
great.
We've got 13 now. Yeah.
Great. Do you guys have any apprentices rolling with them, or is that not a big priority?
I do have 2 apprentices right now.
Good.
One of them we just hired a few weeks ago, wants to be a plumber, is really excited. The other guy, he is kind of just trying to decide if he wants to be a plumber or not, but that's how we're trying to get people nowadays.
Exactly. Yeah. It doesn't matter what part of the country you're in. That's the number one struggle for everyone is people.
Yes.
So anyway, well, good. That's good. You got a couple on board. You're growing. That's doing the right thing. So we're talking today, because everyone's going to want to know why, because business is going very well. Maybe share with everyone what you do in revenue last year.
So last year we did 1.5 million,
Okay.
and we've increased in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
So.
And this year you're on target for what?
Yes, this year we're on target for 3 million.
That's great.
Our goal was 3 million, and we're at 1.6 right now. So we actually are a little ahead of our goal for the year so far.
That's a big jump. That's great. That's fantastic to hear. So we'll dig into the nuances of Mike Bachman Plumbing in a minute. But before we do so, I always love telling people stories and learning their stories. And actually, for those people that are watching or listening to this, I had the pleasure of interviewing Vic's dad, Mike, for our very first magazine that we rolled out in 2005. We called the magazine the Compass Magazine. There we go. There's the numbers. And now it's called the Successful Contractor Magazine, and obviously the show's the Successful Contractor. So Vic and I ran each other at an expo, and we said, how apropos would it be to bring you back, to bring you in now, 15 years later, to see how the company's doing. So I'm really excited to have you on. So let's talk about Mike Bachman Plumbing. Now, you how many generations of plumbers are in the Bachman family?
So there's actually 6 generations now. I'm 5th generation, and I have 3 boys that are plumbers that work for me right now.
That's incredible.
It was started by my great-great-grandfather in 1915. He started Bachman Plumbing. And then my dad actually went on his own in 1975.
Okay.
Kind of broke off from them and started Mike Bachman Plumbing. They were into more commercial stuff, and he went into repairs and residential.
Very good.
Repairs, just basically all repairs since 1975.
1975. Now remind me, he never did construction. You guys never dabbled into construction or any of that kind of stuff, right?
No, he did with Bachman Plumbing, but then when he went on his own, he just did home repairs, water heaters, faucet repairs, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Now, when did you? I guess you joined your dad's company right away. You never were part of the other Bachman Plumbing.
Yeah, I was never part of it. I was born in '71, so. But I did start pretty much plumbing with him at a real young age.
Yeah.
I think he started paying me probably when I was about 16.
Oh, okay, that's pretty good. I thought you were going to say he didn't start paying you until like 5 years ago or something like that.
So I've been working here my whole life pretty much.
Yeah.
It's just part of. I was born into this job, I guess you could say.
Sure, for sure. That's a common theme, but that's all right. It's a good industry. And so you've taken over, running the business since when? Remind me. I forget what the year.
So I took over a little over 3 years ago. I took over, and then I also have a business partner. His name Chad Roylance, which is one of my best friends from high school. He started with us over 20 years ago.
Oh, wow.
He was a computer geek, and he kind of lost his job doing that. The company he was working for went closed down, and he was kind of starving. And so I asked him to come and, work for us for a little while just so he could pay his bills.
Yeah.
And he ended up liking it, got his plumbing license, and now he's a partner with me. And then also my sister is a partner with me also.
That's great. That's people you can trust right there. So that's wonderful. And you guys have been a part of the PSI or SGI family for, gosh, has it been 20 years yet? If it's not 20 years, we're getting close to it, I guess.
Well, yeah, we were one of the first groups in. It was back then. It was PSI. It was Plumber Success International, because I didn't have anything else.
Right.
Yeah, it's kind of changed a little bit. We did drop out for a little while there. My dad, I think, got comfortable where we were at, and
sure.
And PSI was kind of going through some changes too, and
through acquisitions,
dropped out, and then we joined back up. I think a little over 4 years ago we started.
Oh, that's right. Very good. And your brother-in-law is a part of the SGI family as well, right?
Yes. So, well, he's the ESI,
Yep.
Master Electrical Services. He was basically the first electrical company. That was my dad and me were at an expo when they brought up that they wanted to do electrical, and we signed up that day for that. Started that. Got my brother-in-law involved, and then it's a whole other story of where that went.
Yeah. Well, no, I know they're doing well, but as I remember, Brett's like, oh yeah, Mike, we said you're doing this. So But anyway, so well, good. Yeah, it's a family affair with SGI. So
Yes.
well, good. So we're happy to have you on. So hey, yeah, by the way, what's Dad doing? Is he still being a commercial fisherman for fun, or what is he doing now? Last I talked to, he was like in Alaska doing something crazy.
Well, I believe he's heading up to Alaska next week.
Oh,
To do
okay.
some guiding fishing trips up there. He was scheduled to go up this spring and do some shrimp boat captain. He was going to be a captain of shrimp boat, but some stuff with COVID happened and they had to cancel that. But he's doing quite a bit there. He was on a church mission for his church in Hawaii for a little bit.
Oh, wow.
He just plays with cars and he's still into a lot of cars.
Yeah.
I think they talked about that in the last time you interviewed him, how many cars.
Yeah, he's got a car collection.
He got up to 36 cars. Now he's kind of selling a few of them off, but
well, you can only drive one at a time, so
he enjoys the cars and the
Good.
antiques.
That's good for him. Well, you work hard long enough, you can enjoy the fruit of your labor. So
yeah, he is also guiding some trips up in Yellowstone National Park too. He's
wow.
Tour guide up there just for fun.
So he can't sit down. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, he's constantly having to do something. He didn't really want to retire, but he says that I kind of forced him out and told him to do his stuff and get out, but it wasn't quite that way. But
no, that's funny. It's time to let the fifth generation run with it. So
yeah.
Now you said you got 3 boys in there. Are they all plumbers, or what roles are they in the business?
Yeah, so I have 2 of them that have finished their schooling. They're both getting ready to test, and then my third one that's working for me is actually third-year apprentice this year. So we have 4 years of schooling. I actually have 5 boys altogether. So
oh wow,
my oldest didn't want to be a plumber, and then my youngest is not a plumber either, but there's still hope for him. So
there you go. Well, you got a basketball team if nothing else. So 5 boys. That's great. So yeah, remind me, what are the licensing requirements in the state of Utah? Is it a state license? Does each plumber have to have his own or her own license, or can they work under your license? Every state's different.
They're supposed to have their own. We have a 4-year apprenticeship program where they have to be working as a plumber and then actually going to school they call it the ATC, which is the technology center here. They teach the classes there. It's 2 days a week.
Okay.
So they have to do that, and then once they get enough hours working and the 4 years of school, they can then test for their journeyman.
Wow. So you guys have some really tough restrictions. I mean, some states it's the Wild West where, you come in for a few weeks and you can work under someone's license and start running calls. So that makes it challenging, I'm sure, to find people. But go ahead.
That's a real tough thing anywhere, I think, in the country right now, is finding qualified people. So we get a lot of people who, well, I'm a plumber, and it's like, okay, and they don't have a license. And, well, I've been doing it for so long, and you give them a chance, and they still. And I was like, well, I don't know what you've been doing for the last 10 years, but it wasn't plumbing.
Yeah, I mean, maybe in construction, just running pipe for 10 years straight. But anyway, so that's interesting. So let's talk about the last 4 years. Since you guys have been back, what are some of the things? I mean, sales are up. That's great. It's great to hear. Great to see. What's been a big recipe? I mean, we talk to a lot of times with new, members are just kind of turning things around. When I interview them and we kind of talk about the story of what they did to turn around. And, for this kind of increase in sales, was a lot of it just increasing pricing to begin with? Was that something you guys had gotten stagnant with, or were you always pretty good about kind of regularly increasing your prices to make sure, you're getting the margins you need to get?
Well, yeah. So when we first joined PSI with my dad, our whole life's changed. It was a totally different world for us because they taught us a lot of different things, how to price, and we, wearing uniforms, and we always did a lot of the stuff we had already been doing. Our trucks were wrapped and they were painted back then. We advertised and stuff like that. But our whole business changed from what we were doing. We were a lot of repairs, and I like to call us. I used to say that we were one of the all the slumlords would call us because we were cheap.
Yeah, sure.
And so that changed. Our prices changed, so our whole clientele changed.
Yeah.
But I think what happened over the years, we did the SGI things, we did the red carpet and the uniforms and all that,
Sure.
and that really helped. It made a big difference. But we got back into our comfort zone. We were doing. My dad was at the point where he was making money and he was happy, and just got in the comfort zone. And so then when it started to get time for me to take over, I was thinking, we've got to do something else. I want to be bigger. I want to make more, because I've got 5 boys that are going to want to be in this company, and right now it's comfortable for 1-2 people as owners, but whether there's going to be more, we need to be bigger. And so I decided, I talked to my dad, said we need to get back into this SGI, and so we called them back up, and they let us back in, which was great.
Sure.
So, and then we started, and a lot of things had changed.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they used to say you can't have beards, you can't have any of that.
Oh, I know. Yeah. Right. Tattoos, wear long sleeves. I mean, now the world has changed. People are more accepting.
Yeah. And so, it was kind of a change again for us. We went to, the EP again, and I was able to go there and learn quite a bit. And so we started doing stuff again and getting the guys back into it, and started pushing the club memberships again, and, and the pricing guides, I took and revamped the whole price guide, raised prices way up. Again, we were in a comfort zone, and you get scared and you think, gosh, I can't be too much higher. I'm looking at that right now with these water heaters are going crazy.
It's nuts. Yeah.
And they're telling me that's going to go up another 12%
next
month, and it's already gone up 3 times this year. I'm like, I can't do it.
I was like, how many times you print a guide? Yeah, no, I understand for sure. So no, it's just I mean, I think at least now everyone, I think, is understanding how prices are inflating. So no one, I'm sure some people will always get sticker shock, but I think at least it's out there in the public that prices are going up across the board, just about every.
And that's one good thing that SGI has taught us, is that you got to keep up with that, because it sneaks up on you, and all of a sudden you think you're making money, and then you look at your stuff and you're like, oh, I'm not, I'm losing money.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
So
let's talk about EP a little bit. So that's good you brought it up. You mentioned you had to kind of reassess your prices, you revamped the guide a little bit. What else were some things that you left that week and went, boy, we need to get back to doing this, or we need to start doing this?
I think one of the biggest was probably getting a goal, having goals set, and making sure that you have it so that you're looking forward to something. I believe, I can't remember his name. He was there. He since passed away, but
Paul.
Yeah, Paul. He was. Yeah. I think that was one of his last ones that he did there. But he had that big audacious goal. That was a really good thing for me. I got to set something. I need to have that goal so that I have something to shoot forward.
Yeah. Do you remember what your big audacious goal was a couple of years ago? Putting you on the spot, I guess.
Well, I mean, the biggest thing is I would like to be a lot bigger company. I'm shooting for around 5 million is where I'd like to be at.
Yeah, sure.
And I made a lot of little steps to get to that point. And
sure. And you're trending in the right direction. That's for sure.
So, and we look at it as like, do I want to bring in electrical and heating and all that? And we've decided that we just want to be plumbers. That's what I am. That's what I know.
Sure.
And so, I don't want to step on my brother-in-law's feet by any means with his electrical company, but so we just decided we're going to stay plumbers. We can probably hit this much, and
I'm sure,
and be good at it. So but Utah is kind of a weird area for business. We have a huge service area. I talk to some of these people in like Dallas, and they're like, we go so many miles from our shop, and I'm thinking, wow, that'd be nice. We're going, 60 miles one direction and another 60 miles the other direction.
Oh, wow, yeah.
We go from the Idaho border to North Salt Lake, and so it's
holy cow
area, but the houses are, a lot of spread out areas, and we're kind of confined on the Wasatch Front, so it's a big stretched out. It's not a big area. And so
Sure.
it kind of makes it interesting. Like yesterday, or the day before yesterday, I drove clear up to Bear Lake, which is a 2-hour drive to do a job.
Holy cow.
And there was a hotel up there that was having trouble, and they needed it right now, so I was able to run up there and help them. But
and they pay for that.
They do.
You ain't driving 2 hours for if it's not lucrative, I would assume.
2 hours just to get there, and then the job, and then 2 hours back. It's a long day just for one job. But
absolutely. So, but if the right margin, it's okay with me. You've got this big service area, and obviously you want to get the right technicians in the right jobs, right? We call it dispatching for profits. Who's in charge of kind of setting the board each morning? Are you doing that, or do you have your dispatchers? You trust them to do that?
So that's actually something we've been working on recently. I have 2 managers, so we just I used to have 1 manager that ran the guys, but I'm getting to the point where that's too many guys for 1 manager. Right. So a few weeks ago, we promoted another one of our other guys up to manager. So
that's great.
2 managers. We split the team up. And then in the mornings, they come in, they go over the invoices from the day before, make sure everything was good with that, check the numbers, the KPIs, their team, and then they go in and work with the girls in the office to, schedule the jobs out for the day. Sure we get the right person on the right job, that kind of stuff. So
that's great. So these 2 people, the 2 managers, are they the service managers, or what do you kind of call them, their role?
Yeah, we're calling service managers. Basically, it's Mike O'Brien and Kim Rentmeisters who we have. They've both been with us for over 20 years. Which is good. So
so they've been through the beginnings and seen the changes, and so they know the system.
Yeah, and they're on board with the stuff, which that's important, is to have all your guys on board. So
right. That's great. So what, each guy, one is handling 6 and the other's handling 7, something like that?
Yes. Yeah.
That's great. Good for you.
They each have an apprentice under them too, so that they can decide who gets the apprentice goes with during the day and that kind of stuff.
Sure. So the first gentleman that you elevated, so he was, I guess, one of your top technicians. And what about his? Because people that are going to watch or listen to this, they always want to know, who do I put in that type of role? Do I hire outside the company? Do I lift a great technician? So what kind of, I guess let me reset the question this way. What kind of traits about him made him a good manager, or make him a good manager?
Well, I think the most important thing to me was that he's been here a long time. I like to promote inside the company. We watch him and make sure that he was going to be right for the thing. But he's getting, he's older. He's actually older than I am. So, and he's.
I think you're not that old.
Well, I turned 50 this year, which is surprising me, because it just seems like
it snuck up
a few years ago that we joined PSI.
Sure. Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to throw you off there, but you valued his consistency, and I guess he knows the technical ends of the job, right? And he also knows the KPIs you want to hit.
Yeah, and he followed it. He was one of our really good plumbers too, which is kind of scary, because you're thinking, oh, do I want to take one of my good plumbers away? But he just gets to a point in his life where he can't do the stuff like he used to. He's slowing down himself.
Sure.
But, carrying those big heavy sewer cables and stuff, it's hard on him. So I thought, well, we talked to him, pulled him in, talked to him about it. He said, yeah, I'd like to do something that and not have to be doing the physical work as much. So that's why we moved to a manager position.
How long has he been in that role then?
He's been in it for almost 2 years now, I believe.
Okay. Now talk about, it was, when you made that decision to add a layer of management basically between you and the techs, and I'm sure you still talk to them and have relationships with them, but was it just because you were trying to help? I mean, it wasn't just because you were trying to help him. I guess you realized as trying to grow a business, you couldn't do it all, right? You needed some help.
Yeah. And that's one of the things we kind of struggle with, is me getting out of a truck and getting to where that I can just do other things. And and so that was kind of one of those things that would help, because it could take some of the pressure off of what all the things I was doing, give it to somebody else. The girls were still wanting me to do all this other stuff, and then, oh, we have this job that we can't get to. Can you go do it? And I'm like, well, I don't have time, but and so, but yeah, you come to a point where you just can't do everything, and
exactly.
You gotta learn. It's hard. And my dad had a real hard time with that. Getting other people to do. He wanted to be able to do it all and be in control of it all. And I've gotten to the point where I don't want to do it all. I want to have some time with my family and be able to.
Exactly. So let's talk. So when you added the second manager, the second gentleman, was it just the fact that your first service manager, hey, 13 bodies is just way too many? I think often we say 10 is about the max you can do. Yeah. So you just recognize there was a need right there.
Yeah. So basically, I think really what got that is I had 2 apprentices that were getting ready to be in trucks, and I'm like, well, if we put them in trucks, that's going to be too much for one manager. So we decided to add that next one and kind of put them down.
Yeah. So what's there now? So, and he, by the way, how long has he been in that role? It sounds like it's not been too
long. Just less than a month.
Oh wow, so it is relatively new. Yeah. Okay. So how have you been working? So he's out of the field completely, or is he kind of in the field still while doing it?
They're still in the field, but they manage the guys, and then they go out and help where it needs. If anybody needs help, they'll help them with that, or they'll go do some of the other smaller jobs that they can, fit, that kind of stuff.
So their workload has changed, though. If they're not taking on. Okay. Very good.
Their workload is a little bit different. They're managing the guys more, and then kind of more in control of where the jobs go.
Okay, so they help direct that in the field. Yeah. Okay. Just you don't have to be too specific, but again, I'm just thinking there's members or people outside of the group that watch and listen to these things. Compensating a service manager like it. Again, you don't have to give specific numbers, but is it a salary-based type thing with incentives? Is it hourly incentives? Is it just straight salary? How have you decided it works best for you guys?
Well, we pay them by the hour, basically. We've always done that. So we pay them by the hour. We also have a lot of other compensation. We have profit sharing.
Okay.
So they have goals that they have to meet. If they meet certain goals, they get 1% of everything that they brought in that day. So if they meet their goal, everything above that, they get 1% of the whole day. We also have, for our other guys, if they sell certain items, they get perks that way.
Sure.
So there's like a profit sharing account for them, and then also I can't remember what we call it, the goal account, where they get that and then they can take it. And what started that was basically Christmas bonuses. We got tired of every year, giving Christmas bonuses, and then guys talk, and it's like, well, how come he got more than I did? I've been here just as long, but he brought in more. And so he kind of came up with this idea that basically this is your Christmas bonus. The amount of money you make is what gets this, you make more because you brought in more.
Absolutely.
It made a big difference, because that way they knew what they were getting. And it started out as Christmas, that they could take it out at Christmas time. Now it's basically they can take it out anytime they want.
Okay.
If they need it, they can take it.
Okay.
And it works out really well that way. But the guys like it.
Yeah.
We do compensate. We have insurance that we pay for the guys. We've got lots of different trips and different things that we do with them.
Oh yeah.
So.
What are the trips? Let's talk about. That sounds fun. What kind of trips have you done?
Well, our latest one that we're going to is in November. We're going to Belize.
Really?
Yes.
The whole company?
With Diamond Club memberships, if they can sell Diamond Clubs, and I made it so that anybody could actually win. In fact, I would take them all if they all, but it ended up that only one of them actually ended up getting the goal that we had.
Okay.
We are going to take him and one of our secretaries. We're going to Belize in November for a week.
Oh, wow.
So that's really fun.
Yeah.
But we do all kinds of little trips here and there. We'll take couple times we've taken them all to training. We've closed down for a week or 3 days and took everybody to the trainings that SGA give. It's hard to shut down for a week, but sometimes it needs to be done. You know,
sure.
In fact, a couple weeks ago, I just noticed the guys it's been so busy lately that everybody's been kind of running ragged. So they came in one day. I said, we're going to shut down on Wednesday. I'm going to take you and all your families to Lagoon, which is an amusement park.
Oh, nice.
In town. And so we just shut down for the whole day. I took our whole families and all the guys. We went to Lagoon and spent the entire day there.
That's great.
It just kind of helps recharge their systems. And, and sometimes you got to do that. So
no, that's wonderful. So is it just you just kind of watch body language? I mean, I guess you just see where the guys are, or you just know, hey, we've been running hard and long for and everyone seems upbeat, but we still just need to do this.
Yeah, and I think, most of our guys have been here a long time, so we have quite a good feel for how they're feeling. And you can tell, just by when they come in the morning, how they're acting and those kind of things. Sometimes you just have to have that recharge time.
Yeah. And you have everyone come in every morning so you can see the whole team.
Yeah, so they come in every morning. We meet we have a little training room, and we usually talk to them every morning. We'll have huddles. Once we have a real in-depth training where we sit down and we'll spend, an hour to 2 hours depending on what we're training. Sometimes we do videos from SGI. Other times we do hands-on where we actually go out in the shop and tear water heaters apart.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Do that kind of hands-on training, softeners and drain cleaning stuff. And so
before I dig more into training, because that in itself can lead to a bunch of stuff, but I was intrigued because we were talking about watching the guys and how they're feeling, how they're doing. Did you guys run 7 days a week? Do you do 5 days a week and just emergencies on the weekends, or what do you guys do?
Yeah, so it's basically 5 days a week. We are open for emergencies on the weekend. We have a person, so we have somebody goes on call Thursday night at midnight.
Okay.
And so they work from the regular hours, and then after hours they're on call for the whole week until the next Thursday at midnight.
Okay.
And then they get that next Friday off. So that Thursday at midnight they get that the next day off.
Sure.
And they're on call. And right now there's 10 plumbers in the system that are on that. So they're only every 10 weeks.
Right. So it's not too bad. Yeah.
Not too bad. And we've tried lots of different. Hold on. Anything was ringing. I have Bluetooth hearing aids. So a lot of different ways of doing on call, and it's been kind of crazy. The guys hate being on call.
Oh, sure.
But it's something you have to do. Plumbing, is one of those things that just happens only during business hours.
Yeah, when a toilet's overflowing and someone can't figure out how to turn it off. Yeah,
we've tried lots of different things over the years, and this one seems to work really well for us now.
Yeah,
they're not, having to worry about. They know when they're on call, they can plan for it, and
sure.
So.
Yeah, who takes the phone calls, the after hours calls?
So we have a girl that works for us. In fact, I didn't count her in the office, which I probably should. So we have 4 people in the office, but she answers the phones after 5 o'clock at night till 8 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, wow. Now, does she just work out of her house, or does she come? I mean,
she just works out of her house and wherever she's at, and she does really well for us.
Yeah.
But we like to answer live. We don't because if you don't, people hang up and they call the next person. Right? So.
Yeah. How long has she worked for you then? To work that night shift is that's not everyone wants to do that.
She's actually been working for us for, I believe, 4 years now.
Okay. Wow.
And so, but yeah, we've gone through a few people.
Oh, sure.
I actually did it for a while myself, and that's not fun.
Yeah, not if you spend a full day at the office and then you're taking a call at 2 a.m. So what is the service fee to come out? If I call, and it's just like my toilet's running, and it's 2 a.m. because I'm a night owl. Like, what is there a elevated service fee to go? You know what, Bob? I think it's best we schedule you the next day, kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know?
So our regular service fee during the day, we charge $69.95 to come out.
Right. Okay.
So
good.
after 5 o'clock, it goes up to 150.
Okay.
After 8 o'clock, it goes up to 200.
Good.
And
Yeah.
at 2 o'clock in the morning, it's whatever I want. This is what I want to do. But,
Yeah. That's great. Yeah. So you make it, you disincentivize them, and I mean, if you'll take it, right? If someone's going to call you for that, but yeah.
And that's kind of one of the perks that we give for the guys too. So after hours, if they charge the $200 dispatch, $100 of that they get a key.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Plus, along with their overtime and everything else.
That's great. Yeah.
That's just one of those things. We realize it's hard to go out in the middle of the night.
Sure.
Nobody wants to do it. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you get much of that, or are you able to rebook them during the day?
Most people will rebook now. There's a few that want it right now.
They got the money to do it. I guess.
Like one on Sunday that I went up to Bear Lake for the 2-hour drive. That was they had to have it. It was emergency. They had 400 people in there, and they couldn't shut the water off. So
right.
Every once in a while, you do get weird people that's like, my faucet's leaking, I gotta have it right now. It's like, really, you have to fix your faucet?
Right.
But if they're willing to pay it, we'll come out and do it.
For sure. That's good. That's interesting. I'm glad we got into that. All right, let's talk training. I mean, that's great. You guys get together, you do the daily huddles, and you do your training. Who kind of dictates what is going to be trained each week? And by the way, who does the training? Is it one of the service managers? Do you enjoy doing that still?
I do some of it. My business partner Chad, he's
right.
a lot of it. And then we're also going to start getting the managers to start teaching some of the stuff. But that's one of the things I changed when I took over from my dad. We would before I called this the toy box, because my dad has all these cars, and it wasn't really a plumbing shop. He had some of his cars here, and we had a few plumbing things here and there, but we all met here, and we'd have to sit out, between the cars and have our little meeting. And so when I took over, I built a whole new room on the back.
Oh, great.
I made my little office here for me, and then I built a training room, which we have, it's got tables and it's comfortable for the guys. We have a big screen TV up in front that we can put stuff on. And so we do have those kind of training. And then we have, then I took the back and I made a warehouse back there and put all plumbing stuff in there.
That's great.
Home Depot Pro, Rich Barnett.
Oh, wonderful.
One of the SGI partner stocks for us, keeps that stocked up, which is good. And that's really helpful to have because it keeps the guys on task.
100%.
They spend a lot of time at the display houses if you let them go there. So But so we have that. We also build a full kitchen on, which we keep fully stocked. The guys have breakfast, lunch. They can eat anytime they want. We have soft ice cream machine, ice shaver.
So that would be bad news for me, Vic. I'm going to say right now, I'd have to be buying new suits all the time.
Well, yeah. So last week I was out. I had kidney stones all last week.
Oh no!
And so the guys didn't know how to set up the soft ice cream machine. So they were calling me every day. How do you do that? We need ice cream. We need ice cream.
You should have charged them a service fee, a $200 service fee.
Yeah. So this week I came and hooked up the ice cream machine again.
Okay, man. And the tickets went soaring after that. Everyone started selling more.
It's kind of funny. God. You wouldn't think that something that simple would make guys happy, but when I first put it in, I'd go to the supply house and the guys would be like, "We heard you have a soft ice cream machine." And I'm like, "Yeah, you should come work for us."
That's right. Your resume is increased by 500% the next day. That's hilarious. Oh my goodness, that's great though. That's great. So okay, well before we get too far off on ice cream, let's circle back. Circle back to the training. So the training room. All right. So you said your partner will do some of the training too, right? So you guys you just decide on what based on any unique circumstances that have popped up with service calls or I mean, you mentioned you try and sell certain things, maybe a monthly, I don't know, service or upgrade that someone, you guys decide on.
Yeah, it's always, a work in progress, I guess. You're always trying to figure out and watching the KPIs and saying, okay, we need to train on this. Or, I'll ask the people, what do you feel you need help on? We had one of our plumbers the other day, she actually said that she wanted some training on water softeners.
Oh, wow.
And
okay.
I brought in some water softeners. We pulled all the heads apart. I actually brought in the manufacturer of our water softeners. He flew in down, came in and came and sat with us and talked about water softening and
that's great
kind of stuff. So, I mean, we're always looking for new things, and we want to make sure that they're getting something out of it. If you sit and watch too many videos, you lose them.
Yeah, exactly.
And they learn something, but if you do it week after week,
they glaze over.
Yeah,
so 100%.
And I find that they learn a lot more hands-on is helpful for them.
Sure.
And everybody's a little bit different, but I think they get more when you're actually got something, get a tankless water heater and pull it apart, and let them take it apart, put it back together, and learn how everything fits together, and that makes a big difference.
Right. I'm sure it's probably cut down on some callbacks over the years. If you keep circling back to the technical side, someone might think they know how to do something, but the minute you train on it, they go, "Oh wow, I didn't know how to do X, Y, or Z."
Yeah, and then stuff's changing all the time too, so you got to keep up with it.
Right.
Because every time they come out with a new model or something's different.
Different, yeah.
Right.
So you've mentioned KPIs a handful of times. That's great to hear because obviously this is a numbers-driven business, right? We're not in it just for fun. What KPIs are you really keeping an eye on, or your service managers keeping an eye on, so hey, if that goes astray, we better sit down with someone, or we better create some training to address that circumstance?
Yeah, I'm looking at every morning I get the numbers from the day before. Look at job let's see, probably one of the biggest one I'm looking for is
putting you on the spot. I know.
If I grab it, I'll be able to read it here a little bit better. So, I'm looking at the total calls that we perform. Field labor percentage is real important to me. Field and office labor, am I meeting that?
Yeah, huge.
Something wrong there. Are they not charging enough? How many clubs are sold? Which lately hasn't been real great. I'm going to have to train on that again.
Sure. Hey, that's always something, right?
Average invoice is important.
Yeah.
How many? I look at and I see how many jobs were 0 jobs.
Right.
Why did we go out there and not even at least collect a service fee?
Exactly.
Was it a warranty call? Was it callback? Was it, why? And that's nice because I look at that and say, and then I can go through each invoice and I can say, well, how come you went to this job and you're saying it's a callback, but we didn't work on that little thing, and sometimes you have to do that. You work on their tub faucet and then something else starts to leak and they want to blame you for it.
Oh yeah.
It's like, do we do it to them for free or do we say, hey, this is a totally different thing?
Right.
So sometimes we end up just, giving some freebies out just because.
That's why you price yourself the way you price yourself, right?
Yeah.
So to do with that. But
I keep track of that, and it's just, and then the managers are starting to look at that stuff too to keep, so that they can keep the guys. I can't afford to send a plumber to a house and not even get a service fee.
Exactly.
It took you 15 minutes to get there, or whatever, however long. Sometimes it's even longer, depending on where they're at. And then you spent 10, 15 minutes on the job. Why didn't you get something? And so.
It's probably because they only spent 10 or 15 minutes on the job is probably why. They rushed it too much. Yeah.
Well, and sometimes it's not anything that's going to take that long,
Yeah. But just talking to the homeowner, kind of doing the rapport building, sometimes that can.
And they're like, well, I just didn't feel like I could charge for, cleaning out an aerator or something. It's like, well, they expected the $69.95. You should at least got it.
Yes.
And you got to keep up on your guys because they feel that they don't want to feel like they're a salesman or whatever,
Right.
And I think they struggle with they don't want to rip people off, but
Sure.
they got to realize, and they need to realize, you expected to get paid. I need to be paid so I can pay you.
Exactly.
I paid you so much an hour, and you didn't bring anything in for that hour. How do I pay you?
Exactly. It's a constant conversation, right? I mean, it's just this how it is.
Yeah.
Now, do you guys do inspection forms and do build options? You preach the value of those?
We do a little bit. The guys don't do that as well as I would like them to.
Yeah.
We have an inspection, and they sometimes they'll do it if they feel that there's something that they can maybe sell some more of, or they're doing a water heater and the pressure's high, and so they'll do the inspection so that they can show the people that the pressure's high and that kind of stuff. I would like them to do it more than they are, but that's one of the things that we struggle on.
Sure.
But
there's always something to work on, always, right? Well, what's your average ticket? You said it's something you keep an eye on.
Our average ticket is usually around 500 to 550, right around.
That's good. Yeah, that's a little better than a model, so that's really good. And you said you keep an eye on your gross margin. It sounded like earlier before we started recording, right? It's in the 60s or something like that.
Yeah, about 60%.
That's good.
Up in that area.
Yeah, that's really good.
I like to keep it up there,
Yeah.
But
hey, that's right.
Checking that earlier today on water heaters, and I'm getting a little low on water heaters because the prices just keep going up, and so
time to boost the prices again.
Those up again.
Right. I'm glad you mentioned one of our partners, Home Depot Pro. I just talked to Ryan Fidgen in our last show, and he's a great guy, and they've been a great partner. When did you guys decide to do? So you do the BMI program, it sounds like, right?
Yeah, so we started doing that about 4 years ago with them.
Okay. Yeah.
Came in when I took over. I wanted that shop out there. They did a little bit of stuff for us before, but not like it is now.
Yeah.
They actually came in and said, "Hey, we want to do this better for you. What can we do?" So we designed some shelving. Great. They brought in some shelving for us, got it all stocked up, and it's made a difference. It's really helpful because I noticed we track a lot of trucks. The guys would come in here, spend their half hour to an hour in here, doing whatever, having their meetings, and then supposedly stocking the truck. And then I would watch. The first thing they do is go to the supply house and spend 20 minutes in the supply house, getting it going or whatever. I'm like, why are you guys? We have this. I want the stuff here, so we brought it in, and so that saved a lot of time because now they go from here right out to the job.
Right. That's great. Yeah, and did you notice your labor percentage got more in line with where it should have been the minute you had them come in?
It did help. They can stock up every morning, and then if they have some during the day, they use something and they know that they can need it, they can stop back in here, grab it again, keep their truck stocked up. And it's a lot faster than going and chatting with all the other guys that are hanging out.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So you have a Home Depot representative in the shop full time, just working with you guys.
Well, he's not full time. He comes once a week. He's supposed to be here today, actually.
Okay.
And he comes in, checks everything. So when our guys go out there, they take something off the shelf, they write it down what they've taken. Then he comes back, checks that, and then restocks everything. And then we do have a guy that just works in the shop who helps stock the shelves. But then if the guys are on a job and they need a part, they can call him and he'll run it to them.
That's great. So you pretty much eliminated, well, not eliminated, I bet, but you've greatly reduced the running to the shop or running to Home Depot or something individually in the supply houses and getting materials. You got the guys mostly on the jobs.
Yeah, so we've got them going so that they don't have to go there. They can stay on the job because that's important. If people think, I'm not paying you to run to the supply house, am I? And they don't think that you're running to the supply house, pick a part, coming back. They're thinking you're going and screwing around, taking lunch, going over there, whatever, and they're thinking they're paying you for that. We're like, well, that's why we gave you the price before, and we explain that to them. But it's nice just to say, I'm just going to have this guy. He's going to bring it out to me, and I'll get the job done. And we're not going to be wasting any of your time because time's important to people.
Support for this podcast comes from Rhino Fleet Tracking. Rhino is an industry-leading commercial vehicle tracking company with an array of vehicle and equipment tracking solutions, which provides you valuable data about your drivers and fleet. Their live Texas-based customer service has led them to more than 12 years of success. For SGI member discounts and more information, visit rhinofleettracking.com.
Welcome back to the show. I'm talking with Victor Bachman of Mike Bachman Plumbing in Ogden, Utah. Mike Bachman Plumbing is on target to double its sales from $1.5 million to $3 million in 2021 at a great margin, and it's doing so while maintaining a family-oriented culture. In the second half of the interview with Vic, we're going to talk about how he finds new plumbers. We're going to talk about how they track and keep people accountable. We're going to talk about advertising, and we're going to talk about a whole lot more. So let's jump back into my conversation with Vic Bachman of Mike Bachman Plumbing. You said you spend a lot of your time in the morning, kind of looking at the numbers and seeing, if you get a plumber where he had 2 calls where he just got a service fee, or he just didn't even get the service fee. It was a $0 call. Do you reach out to your manager to talk to that technician, or do you talk to him individually, or how do you use a chain of command and talk about that?
Yeah, so it just depends on basically what it is and how many times we've talked to them already, that kind of stuff. And, a lot of times, I go through and I find, well, this was the people canceled when they got to the door, which is not their fault, or, but if it's something that needs to be talked to, sometimes I will go to their managers, and I'm going to be using that more now that I've got the managers thing set up a little bit better.
Sure.
And in fact, I talked to the managers this morning about that, there's this problem, we need to talk to this person about it.
Yeah.
So you can talk to him, and then if you have questions, come talk to me, and if I need to talk to him, I can do that too.
Right.
But I want to be still personal with the guys.
Right.
I'm still their friend, and I'm their boss, but I want to be their friend too. And our culture here is real family oriented, and we want them to feel like they can be here. And most of our guys have been here, over 10 years, some over 20 years, and so that's what we want. We want them to stick with us. But as we get bigger, it's harder to do that by myself.
No. You're doing the right thing. You're bringing up people the next level of management. You're doing exactly what we teach. That's great. I'm excited to see how it's going to keep growing. As you keep elevating that middle management level, it allows you to focus on growing the business.
Well, and it gives them something to look forward to, that they're not going to have to be a full-time plumber in their truck all the time. They progress up. Because you get a lot of those guys, they're like, I just can't do this as much anymore, and so they quit. And it's like, they still want a job, but they just can't.
They wear out. I mean, it's not an easy job. You're on your knees all the time, right? You're bent over all the time.
Back wears out there.
Right. How do you guys track performance of everyone? Obviously, you have the average ticket, but do you do scoreboards, or does everyone have certain revenue goals they know they need to hit? So they're cognizant of, they're not just sloughing off a job. Like with having you talked about it at EP, right? You left EP and you had a goal. So how does that work with your technicians?
Yeah, so we have a goal board in the classroom, on the back of the classroom. It's I'm thinking it's probably 5 feet by 10 feet.
Great.
Everybody's name's written on it, and then they're supposed to come in every morning and write down their numbers.
Oh, good. They're writing them. Okay, good.
They write them down on there. They write how much they brought in, what their goal was it above goal or below goal, and they can keep track of that. And then Chad, my business partner, he keeps track of the company, and he writes that on there too. So all of our numbers are posted. The guys know how much the company's brought in for the year. It's all right there, open for them. You have daily goals that they're supposed to meet, like we talked about earlier, that they hit that daily goal, then they get 1% of whatever they brought in that day goes into a profit sharing account for them. And all of our guys have profit sharing too.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Now for a guy, I mean, it happens to everyone, right? Where you just might have something in your personal life that's causing you to struggle and work. Did you ride-alongs at all if someone's really struggling, or is it just an individual conversation like, hey Joe, what's going on? Is everything okay? I mean, that happens. That's just part of business. It's part of life. So how do you guys kind of handle someone that might be having a rough stretch?
Yeah, so we bring them in, we talk with them, ask what we do, what we can help. We do ride-alongs once in a while for people that need some help. In fact, one of my the office girls came in this morning and asked me to ride along with one of the guys here. They struggle with stuff. It's taking a little longer than we think he should, and want to see what's going on there. But so we'll be doing that this week.
Yeah.
Ride-alongs are tough because they always seem to be perfect when you're with them.
Yeah, sure. It's amazing how that works, right? Yeah.
That inspection sheet, and then the next day you're not riding with them, and no inspection sheet show up.
Yeah.
So it's like, why is that? So and I'm hoping with the managers they'll be a little more, they won't be as nervous, and they can ride along with them a little bit better and see more of the real stuff. Because I think when I ride along with them, they're trying so hard to be perfect that you don't see what's really happening.
Sure. That's funny. So you're growing, you're adding trucks, right? You want to keep growing, it sounds like. So you're gonna need more plumbers. So let's circle back to that awful issue to deal with. So are you working with the trade school specifically to let them know, hey, I'm looking for people, or if you got a student that isn't working with someone, or someone that just signed up and needs someone to get hours with? How are you kind of finding apprentices? How are you finding, are you hiring seasoned techs? I mean, let's talk about that.
So we'd love to hire some seasoned, licensed journeyman plumbers, but it's almost impossible to find them right now, especially here in Utah. That everything's gone crazy. The building's going through the roof. They're building a new airport, which they took quite a few hundred plumbers and gave them these huge wages to go work there. In fact, I had a few plumbers that were thinking about it, and I says, you can do that, that's fine, but if you're not going to be loyal to me, I can't promise your job back. So
yeah, exactly.
They ended up staying with us, but we have a unique situation because Chad Roylance, who is my business partner, he actually teaches the first year apprentices at the ATC.
Oh, well, that kind of helps.
So we got to be real careful with that because we don't want other companies thinking that we're stealing their plumbers that way.
No, but if he just happens to wear a Mike Bachman Plumbing shirt every time he teaches, it's branding his work.
Yeah, they know that who he works for, but we don't go and say, hey, come work for us.
No, I understand. Yeah.
But if they come to us and say, hey, I'm looking for a job, I'm not happy with where I'm at or whatever, we can do that.
Sure.
But he does. We get a lot of people that sign up for school that aren't working at the time. They just want to be a plumber, so they sign up, and so then they need to find a job, and that helps. So we're willing to give people a shot.
Yeah.
To see if they work. We have usually a 90-day probation period that we can work with them and see if they're actually capable. We had a female girl do that 3 years ago. She came. Yeah. She says, I signed up for school. I need a job, and nobody would even talk to her.
Really?
She kind of mentioned it to Chad at school, and so we brought her in, interviewed her, and liked her, and she's been here 3 years.
That's great.
And she's probably one of our best employees right now. She does really well, some good numbers.
That's good.
She's one of the really good students at the school. I think the other apprentices there don't like her because she's kind of ruining the bell curve.
Hey, that's a good person to have on your team, though. That's great.
Yeah. So, and we're willing to give them a try and see what happens. Yeah. Sometimes they work out, sometimes they don't. But right now, the best way that I found to get plumbers is to train them up.
Yeah.
A lot of our, plumbers have been here since they started school. We offer to pay for their schooling. If they work for us, we'll pay for their schooling. We pay for their testing. We pay the wages, which goes up as the longer they're with us. We do like to, if we're going to pay for your schooling and do this kind of stuff, we want you to at least work for us for a year after you graduate. We can't force them to stay forever, but we find that most of them want to stay. So
that's wonderful. When you're interviewing people like that, younger people or people just getting into the industry, what what are you looking for? Like, well, you've been doing this long enough to know, okay, that personality, it's going to work. That you can tell that based on their work history, they're not afraid of hard work, or based on that person's work history, they are not going to work out here, and I'm not bringing them on. So, is there anything you've found over the years, the commonalities with the people that end up being successful with you?
I think one of them is just how they have a desire to do it. They want to work. You can tell people that are just wanting to be paid. They're just looking for a paycheck, and you can tell people that are really interested in it. And plumbing is one of those things that if you just want a paycheck, plumbing's not for you, because it's a dirty job. Going out and cleaning sewers and doing that kind of stuff, it's not fun. And so they've got to be willing to be able to have that desire to work hard.
Sure.
And I was raised, in that era that, it was important. My dad, I went to work with him in the morning, and we didn't come home until all the jobs were done. Sometimes we worked till 10, 11 o'clock at night or later. 24 hours a day we were doing stuff. And nowadays it's a little bit different than that. People don't want to work like that. And so we've got to change a lot of the ways we look at things and getting the people. But we want them. You come to work at 8, you go to 5. I mean, that's what. And then they're on call, and they've got to be willing to be able to do that. And some of them work out, some of them don't. It's just, and sometimes you get a guy that you think, oh, it's going to be great, and he's not.
That's part of the business. So you're recruiting all the time then, it sounds like, so you're always keeping an eye out. You're always willing to talk to somebody just in case.
Yeah, we're trying. I like the guys that call up and say, hey, I'm looking for a job, and I'll talk to them on the phone, and I can usually tell if they're really wanting a job. If their mom calls and say, hey, my son's looking for a job, I usually give them a chance.
Holy cow.
And that happens quite often. I'm amazing how would you hire my son? Well, your son should be asking me that, not you. So
holy moly. That's something else.
But we're always looking for new ways. On our tag meeting with SGI last week, I got some ideas about different things. He was talking about how up in Canada, how they're starting they had an employee that had some stuff, but they're starting what was it called? A scholarship program.
Oh, okay.
This employee's name, because I don't know what happened there, but that's different. But I was thinking maybe it's doing something like that to get some of these younger kids interested in becoming plumbers, because kids nowadays don't think about plumbing as a hobby, or electricians or any of that kind of stuff. They want to sit behind a computer and play video games and get paid for it.
Sure. Yeah, exactly. It's the new I'm going to be a professional athlete is now I'm going to be a professional gamer. It's crazy how things have changed. But you're right. And I think, in a lot of ways, shop classes and stuff like that have disappeared where people, and it's just, everyone's told you got to go to college to make a living, which is obviously massively incorrect.
Well,
anyone that talks to you in the trades.
Yeah, they do teach them in shop class, like, is that considered shop?
Right, you're right. Right,
exactly. Build hard anything anymore. It's just crazy.
Yeah, but, it's different. I was going to ask you. You mentioned, sewers and stuff. Do you guys do a ton of drain cleaning? Is that a big part of the business, or is it mostly like plumbing repair and stuff like that?
I would love to say that we don't, but we do. Sewers are big. It's a big part of our business. Sure. The guys hate it. And that's something we're working on here lately. It's really not. I look at it and I think, it's not that hard. It's not really that bad.
You don't need a license to do it.
But the guys get that. They look at it and it's one of the dirty things, and and it can be hard sometimes, and they just have that. I guess they're scared of it, and they just don't want to do it, and so they make it into this huge deal. And it's like, is it really that huge a deal? I talked to them a little bit about that this morning in our little meeting, but it's not that big a deal, guys. Let's just go out, stay calm, do the work, get it done, and it'll be fine. But you go out there and you just mad and you want to get it done quickly, then we get callbacks.
Yeah,
It's
for
better
sure.
just, look at it as it's just part of the job.
Right.
But sewers is big.
Oh yeah,
That's one of those things that's going to back up. Everybody poops, basically.
It's science. Makes sense. So everyone does. Yeah. No.
And I've noticed during COVID, it's been a lot worse because people were there
paper
all day
towels.
long. They were home all day long using that sewer that didn't get used half as much. It was getting used twice as much, and so it was plugging up more.
Yeah.
And that's one of those emergency things that people don't want to wait. My sewer's backed up into my basement. I don't want to wait till tomorrow to fix it.
Right.
So.
Yep. But it's a very profitable job.
Yeah.
Very.
So we do charge quite a bit to do sewers, and compared to some of these other just drain cleaning companies that are in town. But in my opinion, if I'm going to do it, it's going to make it worthwhile. And
heck yeah.
And we have better guarantees, and we do better than the others, and people still want to pay it. So
yeah. What are you kind of replacement options? You just do digs, or do you do relining or bursting, or what do you guys offer?
We don't do any of that. If it has to be replaced, we refer it out.
Okay.
My dad got buried in a trench when he first, in younger years. And so ever since then, anything over 3 feet deep, we don't do it.
Okay.
And our sewers here in Utah are usually 8 feet or more because we have basements. And and we just don't want to have the backhoes and that kind of stuff. So,
okay. So you don't sell it all. You just refer to. You don't sell it at all. You just refer it directly to somebody.
Yeah. So we specialize in repairs on plumbing. Water heaters is really big for us. Water softening units.
Yeah.
We do fix faucets. We used to fix a lot more now. Now we're more into repair versus replace.
Yep.
Stuff nowadays is disposable, basically.
It is.
People, you used to buy faucets and they would last and you could repair them. But nowadays it's like, by the time you repair this, you can buy a brand new one. It's just put the money into a new one. So
exactly.
We teach our guys to give those options. I can repair for this. I can replace it for this. We can upgrade it to this. And that really helps because it gets those invoice numbers up.
Yeah, for sure.
You're surprised at what people are willing to do. You think, oh, they'll never go for this. And they do.
They do. Yeah. They value. I mean, you show the value, right? You got great warranties, and I just don't want to mess with it anymore, right? I just want to know that whatever this is done right, and I don't have to worry about it anymore. I do. That's huge these days. So, okay, real quick change of subject, and then we'll wrap up because I've had you about an hour, and I really appreciate it. This has been a lot of fun for me. But you want to keep growing the business. That means you're going to need more phone calls. Have you guys? Has that not been an issue these days? You're just it's more or less a plumber issue. You need more plumbers, or are you still pushing marketing to try and generate calls?
It really isn't an issue for us right now. The phone's ringing.
I heard it while we were talking.
I just heard it now because it kept ringing. Most of ours is word of mouth. We've been around such a long time anyway that we get a lot from that. We do have some TV commercials that we play. The biggest problem with those is that they're statewide, which we don't go statewide. So we get calls from St. George all the time. I'm like, I can't go to St. George. That's 6 hours from here. But
unless you want to pay for the plane ticket.
We've tried different things. We did the cable where they just did certain areas.
Yeah.
We actually found that we were getting more calls off the ones that weren't specific. And
right.
I don't know why. It just maybe the stations that the people are watching.
Yeah.
We've done some radio here and there, but I mean, most of the stuff, especially right now, we haven't been pushing advertising a lot because everybody's so busy around here that we get a lot of people, and you can tell they've called 5 different plumbers and, whoever gets there first kind of thing. And, But most of our competitors are telling people they're 2 weeks out, and we usually get to them within 2 days.
That's good.
Not the same day, and so that makes and I could probably hire 3 or 4 more plumbers and happy because I have the work for that. I just can't find them. So
right. Right. So yeah, it's funny how things have changed over the years. But when I first got in this almost 20 years ago, it was all about how to find more leads. And now it's like I just got more than I can deal with. I just can't find the people to run them, or the right people.
Yeah, I was just looking at some of the SGI stuff earlier. The big old book about Yellow Page ads.
Oh yeah. I used to write those. Yeah, that was yeah, that was it. If you had the right Yellow Page, right, man, you were cooking. You had to get up front. That's why half our plumbing companies begin with A. It's AAA this to get up front, right?
They did that for a while, and then they started where you just pay to get up front.
Oh yeah. Oh, they figured it out. Yeah.
People were buying 3 full-page ads just first plumber.
Yeah. Until everyone figured out that just doesn't work anymore. So that's funny. Real quick, you mentioned your tag groups. How are those going? So for those people that don't know, tags are where our members get together, and you guys talk about once a month or once every couple weeks?
Yeah, it's once a month. We get together. There's a group of us. I believe there's 8 or 10 plumbing companies. We have some up in Canada with us, and then all over the state. And they basically put you together with groups that are similar to yours.
Size, yeah.
A little bit, and then you just get together and you share ideas and talk. And I really find it real helpful. I think it's a great program.
That's great.
And I love being part of it. So
yeah, I was gonna say I think I've seen I think someone shared. Is it Missy that runs yours or?
Missy.
Yeah. She takes a screen picture and puts it on Facebook, and you're in a good group. I remember there's lots of faces I know in that group, so it means you got a pretty good group. So
it's a good program, and if you have a chance to get in one, I would say do it because it's really helpful. It keeps you on track, makes you have goals that you're working towards. And, and makes you holding other people responsible, and they're holding you responsible, and so it's a good thing.
That's great. Okay, wrapping up, Vic. You said that 5 million is the goal. Anything beyond that, in 10 years, you take it to 10 million, or are you just happy? You just focus at that $5 million number.
Well, I'm kind of happy right now, just keeping it at that. I don't want to get too, audacious, I guess. I mean, I can see that it could possibly get there, but and I also have talked to people that say once you hit that 5 million, it's a totally different thing. So it's something once we get to the 5, I'll have to decide if I want to go bigger or not. What my boys want to do with because they're going to be coming up too. So
that's great. That's wonderful. And then just last question is, what advice would you have for other, SGI members, or maybe even just, plumbing contractors that aren't in the group? What are some important things that they should keep their eye on in order to have a successful business?
I think the biggest help was that SGI really helped us keeping, on track and taught us a lot of things that we need to know. There's, a lot of times when you're a plumber, you think you're making money, you figure, well, I paid this much, I'm charging this much, I'm doing good. But then when you add all those things together, you find out that you're not doing as well as you thought you would.
Right.
And so it's a good idea, track those numbers, make sure that you're priced right. That's one of the biggest things is being priced right. And then having a culture in your company where the people want to stay with you. They want to be part of your vision, part of what you want. Want to be, and if they're not on board, they're not going to help you. Basically they're going to fight against you. We used to call it you'd have a meeting, and then they would go out to the dumpster and have the dumpster meeting. And so you don't want them to do that. You want them to say, hey, this is great. This is what I want to do. This is a company I want to be a part of. And that's important, is keeping them, part of it. And culture is a lot different now than it used to be. I mean, when I was a kid, there was no culture.
There was no. 20 years ago, we didn't talk about culture. I was like, what is culture? Yeah, exactly.
But nowadays, the people want to feel like that they're needed and wanted, and that they're important. And so you got to keep that up. And so, and that's what SGI has really helped with that, and I appreciate that. For those that aren't members of SGI, I would say, look at your numbers and keep track of them. Try to do those kind of things that, you've seen people in your town that are doing the shoe covers and red carpet. And you think those little things aren't a big deal, but they are a big deal to people. And so it's, join SGI if you can. It's going to make a big difference in your life.
Yeah.
And so it really helps.
That's great.
So.
No, that's good. No, I know culture's a big deal. I just reading that old piece that I did, talking to your dad, he started a lot of those fun things, right? With the refrigerator, and you guys still do it, and that's wonderful. You make it a place where people want to be. And obviously you've got people that have been there for 10 plus years. You guys are doing that right. So awesome. So, well, Victor, thank you so much for all your time today. Really enjoyed the conversation, and I hope you guys nothing but continued success, and look forward to seeing you hopefully at Expo in a handful of months.
Yeah, I'll be there. You're already signed up, so we're excited.
Great.
Expo is always good. So
yeah,
thanks for having me, and we'll see you later.
That sounds good, Vic. Have a great rest of your day. I'll talk to you later.
And thanks. Bye.
All right. See you, buddy. Bye-bye.
That's Vic Bachman on how Mike Bachman Plumbing in Ogden, Utah is on pace to double its sales in 2021 by running a strong operation, but also putting a premium on culture. Thanks for joining us. If you feel like you have a great story worth sharing that would also help other contractors, email me at bhouchin@yoursgi.com. Also, if you enjoyed today's episode, if you're on YouTube, give us a like and subscribe. If you're on your favorite podcast player, leave us a 5-star review. And please join us for future episodes. It's my promise to you that we will continue to interview successful contractors and other influential individuals in the residential contracting world. This is The Successful Contractor, powered by Success Group International.
The Successful Contractor podcast is part of the Success Group International family. SGI is the largest member-owned best practices organization for independent residential services contractors. SGI provides its members a competitive edge through proven proprietary management tools and expertise, marketing programs, training, and group buying power, along with a highly active and eager to help membership. For more information about Success Group International, visit www.yoursgi.com.